Hey everybody, thank you for attending this webinar on the Apple Vision Pro. I'm Steve Pillea, the Spatial Media Director here at MarketScale. Today we're just going to be going over the basic technology, why this is transformative, and how B2B is going to be leveraging this for the future and how this is here to stay. So before we really get started, I want to give you a little bit of a background on me. I've got 15 years experience in the industry. Started off basically doing episodic television on Sesame Street. There was a live action, a 3D segment on Sesame Street called Abby's Flying Furry School. From there, I went to a commercial house and quickly transitioned into this AR, VR world and was really excited about mixed reality. So I was one of the early adopters into mixed reality, but I did it the backwards way of what Apple was doing. I was creating digital twins of real life objects in the digital space and using trackers to make sure they always lined up with what you were seeing in your headset. So I did destination-based experiences for mixed reality VR. This hot air balloon that you see on screen was actually a digital twin in the headset, and using microcontrollers and other things, the actions that you did in the headset were actually happening, the actions you did in real life with the burner and all those other features were happening in the headset and was very immersive. So in the real life, you were only going off the ground a couple inches, but in the headset, it looked like you were flying over the Grand Canyon. So really, some really cool stuff there. Moved it on to MarketScale, and I brought a lot of that cool technology with me. I'm always looking for the next best thing, the next awesomest piece of technology. And here I've been working on a lot of augmented reality experiences, putting products into iPhones and Android devices. And so I'm thrilled that the Apple Vision Pro is because it's really the next evolution in technology, and we're going to learn all about it today. But let's talk about why this is important. And to know why the Apple Vision Pro is important, we have to learn a little bit more about Apple as a company. They have a history of transformational products. The Mac arguably introduced everyone to personal computing. The iPhone introduced everyone to mobile computing. The people behind Apple are the same people behind Pixar. And so you could say Apple in general, the people behind Pixar in general, we owe current blockbusters, the current way that TV shows, movies, basically all media is made today, we honestly owe to Apple and the people behind Apple and their investment in the technology in the 3D space. So knowing this legacy of 3D, of creating devices that change the world, it's no surprise that the Apple Vision Pro is here and Apple has gone in on this in a big way. There are a lot of comparisons out there how this is very similar to the iPhone release of 2007. When the iPhone was first released, there was no App Store, right? It was just a device with some basic apps. But then we saw how their way of rethinking how you interact with a piece of technology was transformational. It changed everything. Gone are BlackBerries, gone are all these things that have physical keyboards, right? This led to exponential growth, especially when the App Store was developed. And we're here again. The Apple Vision Pro is a new way of interacting with the world, interacting with digital media. And although the App Store is here and a lot of the tools are there to make apps, there's still not a whole lot out there. So we're on the ground floor again. We're here and we're able to have be part of that exponential growth. And so everyone should get in on this while we can. So something else that's been, Apple's been touting it is spatial computing. It's not AR, it's not VR, it's spatial computing. Why? Well, AR has been made the last 10 years as a 2D experience. It's synonymous with 2D. So on your iPhone, your Android, you often can interact with 3D models in your space through the use of the camera. but it's a very flat experience on your phone. Lots of value there, but that's not what the Apple Vision Pro is. On the flip side of this, it's VR capable, the Apple Vision Pro, but that's not really what it is either. Like, it's not its main focus. Really, spatial computing brings this digital media into your own reality. And so you can experience it in your day-to-day as you're going on, as a desktop replacement, as all these things in your real space. So to understand that more, we need to talk a little bit more about the technology behind the Apple Vision Pro, because I still get lots of questions like, can you see through that thing? And the answer is kind of. It's not like a piece. It looks like goggles, ski goggles, but it's not glass. It's not like the Magic Leap. It's not like these devices that are trying to project an image onto glass. It's actually got two cameras, basically eye width apart, and it has displays on the inside, and it's feeding your eyes two different images that are slightly different. Works exactly like how a VR headset works. It works exactly how your brain works. And because these two images are slightly different, it gives you depth perception. It gives you that virtual augmented reality feel because we're able to see the real world as we normally would, but then add things on top of it in a way that's more convincing and more believable. Some of the other devices like Magic Leap, the resolution of whatever you put on there isn't that great, right? You couldn't get 100% opacity on things that were supposed to be there in real life because it was being projected on a piece of glass. By having these cameras feeding into an actual display inside, they're able to enhance the experience by having full transparency, add lighting onto things that are supposed to be there, and it feels more realistic to your real world. It's more of a merging into a mixed reality that way. So some of the things that are really awesome about this is it can be used as a virtual reality headset as well. You can black out the world completely. But that's not really where this thing's future is going to be headed, probably. One of the things that's really awesome is that it can track your hands and your head using LiDAR technology. So that's another next level thing here. It's not just a passive thing that you're experiencing with your eyes, but you can use your hands to select things, to manipulate stuff. It knows what's going on, and that's going to be able to lead to even cooler apps out there in the world. So let's talk about the interaction. So I've talked about the hand tracking. What it does is it's got cameras on the outside that helps you perceive the world, but it also has cameras on the inside. It's tracking your eyes and your eye movements. So to interact, the game-changing thing that we have here with the Apple Vision Pro, just kind of like with the iPhone, they revolutionized how we touch, with the capacitive touchscreen. With the Apple Vision Pro, they've changed the game again. So to select something with the Apple Vision Pro, it's tracking your eyes at all times. So all you have to do is look at something. So when you bring up the apps, the current apps on the device, you'll look at the one you want, and it's also tracking your hands. So you're using hand gestures to interact. So you basically reach out with your hand and you make a tapping motion like this, like a select pinch. And whatever you're looking at is going to be selected. And that's how you interact basically exclusively in the Apple Vision Pro. Now you can hook up manual inputs like keyboards and touchpads, but that is mostly if you're going to be sitting at a desk using it. If you're just going to be interacting with an app, you'd probably do it with your hand gestures. So it's using all kinds of really advanced AI to make this all happen under the hood. So it really is a remarkable piece of technology. So I mentioned how this is very similar to the iPhone launch and how we're back here again with the App Store. And so it is exactly like that. However, it was a slow build with the iPhone. Apple had to create the ecosystem. They had to make the tools available to developers so that they could let them loose and just develop and come up with some really cool things, right? All of that ecosystem is already in place with the Apple Vision Pro. So all of the guys out there who already know how to make a iOS app can make something for the Apple Vision Pro. So we're going to see some rapid content creation here because the people already know how to do it. It's already out there in the world. It's using a familiar coding language. All the software, all the stuff the guys already know how to use is going to be usable with the Apple Vision Pro. So it's really an exciting time for us because it's going to be, we're still at the ground floor. There's still limited apps out there, but it's going to be rapidly changing, guys. So how does this relate to the B2B space? Where do we foresee this change in the world? Well, the Apple Vision Pro definitely has the media and entertainment side down, right? There's going to be people who want to watch movies on it. There are going to be folks who want to try and use it as a desktop replacement with some keyboards. Where I see this actually being a transformational tool is when it gets in hands of technicians, training schools, basically anywhere anybody has to learn about a piece of equipment. You can now do that in the comfort of your own home. You could have, if some of this technology is expensive at a school, maybe you have one, but then everyone goes to a class and you have your own Apple Vision Pro headset and you have a digital twin that you can then practice on your own where you don't have to wait in line to use an expensive tool. Maybe you can go to a remote trade school. It's one of those things during the pandemic, all these academic colleges went remote, but how do you learn a trade remotely? It's a lot more difficult when you actually have to be hands-on. This allows people to train on a diverse amount of equipment, and that's next level. You can also imagine this out in the field. Imagine having this headset on and you're an HVAC technician. You're on some piece of equipment that you're not familiar with. You could pull up a manual. You could phone somebody back at the office and share your view with what you're seeing. Hey, guy, can you walk me through this? You got both hands free, which is awesome. You don't have to juggle your phone trying to get help. There could be a digital twin. So if there is hey, I don't know how to do this. Let me watch the tutorial that's going to take me step by step while I do it. Maybe it's going to overlay things on the real product and help me out and diagnose. There are lots of things out there potentially for technicians out in the field. It's really going to be really awesome. But in the immediate use, where do I see this really taking hold? I think the factories of the future are going to have technicians, whoever's on the factory line, having an Apple Vision Pro on. I like to think about the most recent headlines with Boeing. They had an airplane door fall off mid-flight. Luckily, no one was hurt. But they basically discovered that in the manufacturing process, some steps were missed. The bolts that hold them down weren't tightened. Something was going on. Well, if every step of a manufacturing process in the factory, someone had an Apple Vision Pro on, the headset could be tracking the piece of machinery or the door, whatever it is that's coming down the assembly line. It would know, hey, these are the bolts that you need to put in, and this is the order. So it could be flashing, saying, hey, this is a bolt that you need to put in first. Here's the one that's second, and so on, right? Because it can track your hands, it would be able to know, all right, I put my hands in this position, so that means I've gotten that bolt. I've gotten this bolt. Oh, wait, you missed a bolt. It's going to flash red in that area, right? That is how it's going to upskill a workforce. It's going to allow a step-by-step guide as if somebody else was there telling you what to do, but also helping you along the way by not actually having somebody there. Something else that's really awesome is because it's screen recording, it could be screen recording. And so you could have visual reference of every part on that factory line being put into place. That's next level. Like right now, Boeing is having to ground some of the aircraft because they have to do physical inspections. Imagine being able to use AI to flag potential ones that weren't done properly. Hey, I know somebody missed a bolt here, but in the augmented reality, maybe that's one that we should go back and look at. They might be able to narrow down which ones they would have to look at. There's all kinds of applications for augmented reality. Another one that I'm really excited for with factory floors is training artificial intelligence. I'm a fan of Elon Musk. I've read his biographies. I know his whole deal. But think about Teslas for a minute. Every Tesla car has cameras out there, and it's recording the world as you drive. It's recording how you drive. And Tesla is using that information to train artificial intelligence to do self-driving vehicles. With the Apple Vision Pro, it's got some safety features built into it, but I'm sure there'd be some kind of partnership available where it knows where your eyes are, it knows where your hands are. It's recording all the time. If it did that, it fed that information into an AI system, a machine learning algorithm, it could train robots of the future to automate some additional processes that may be too hard for a robot traditionally. So that right there is a huge game changer for this. So keep that in mind. The future is wide open, guys. So moving on here. Another thing that I think is really relevant for B2B and something that we can do right now. You know, some of these things about the factory floors and the assembly lines, those are much bigger projects. That's something that is going to take a lot of development to implement, and although worth it, a little bit of a bigger project. How do we bring that back down? Well, right now, something that we can all do right now is product demos in the Apple Vision Pro. We can interact with these models like they were almost really there. And we've done this already with augmented reality with iPhone and Android. But like I said, it was that 2D flat experience. It's something even more unique when it's in the headset. So I'm going to share a video here. This is a augmented reality experience that I created for Samsung during the pandemic. And it just works in the Apple Vision Pro. Basically, what the problem was, they would bring these to hospitals to sell them. But during the pandemic, they couldn't. So they needed an augmented reality experience so doctors could bring it into a patient room next to a hospital bed and see the range of motion of the machine and basically show, hey, this portable X-ray scanner can go into any position, and wherever you need it in the hospital, it's going to work. And so it worked great, but I was unprepared for the sense of presence I had when I was looking at it in the headset. And this is the most basic experience we could do. It's very passive. It plays an animation. But experiences of the future, all these buttons that I'm kind of mock playing here could be really working. You could almost interact with this thing like you were actually going to put it over a patient. And that's the future that I'm really excited for, because it could be out there. You know, the price of a headset is roughly the cost of, somebody flying out, shipping the thing. You could just mail them an Apple Vision Pro. I mean, it's that awesome how, this is going to be transformational. So that is product demos. And so the future is really wide here. Development and adoption is just beginning, and we can't even guess really on where this is going to happen. But the key is to start now. My mother was an art teacher, and in her classroom, it said, "Don't wait for inspiration. Start, and inspiration will find you." And that's where we're at. When we dive into this, when we go deeper, we're going to come up with things that we couldn't even dream about. And some things, like right now, the Apple Vision Pro is a very singular experience. I can't share my experience with somebody else who's wearing an Apple Vision Pro. I anticipate that changing very quickly. There's going to be experiences where you're both going to be able to see the same 3D thing in space and be able to do tours and collaborate on product design, to collaborate on just product demos in general. It's really going to be a really wild world with this. And it's really important to see that we're at the beginning and that we all should get in now while we can. So this brings us to MarketScale, you and the Apple Vision Pro. Basically, what does it mean for you as a MarketScale customer? You have early access to this, guys. We have them in the office. So if you want a tour, you want to check out what this thing is like, come see us. We'll be happy to give you a tour, walk you through some of the augmented reality experiences that we've already created, and just basically get you excited and brainstorm on what we could do for you. We'll be also doing more webinars. We'll be showcasing this technology as we build more demos. And the goal is, guys, that we're going to be creating some demos that are going to be easily adaptable for other products. And so we'll be able to bring those to you at, a reasonable scope. And, it's going to be awesome, guys. And of course, we'll be developing custom experiences tailored to your specifications. So if you want to do something wild, just absolutely crazy, come talk to us. We want to be able to help you do that. So we're going to open it up to the questions and answers part, and Zach is going to get off mute, and he's going to show me, he's going to gauge the crowd. What's the first question, Zach?
It's really good. Hey, Steve, our first question is from... this is how our employees are. Hey, Steve, can you hear me?
1 second. So let me see if I can't pick up some questions here.
Part of it.
All right, so from John, how can we use this AR training for AR training applications? We have a number of partners that are interested in remote training capabilities, both real-time and pre-recorded. Basically, we'll just need to know, what are you trying to teach them? And so we'll be able to build a custom experience that, let's say if it's a HVAC a piece of equipment and you want to train everyone on removing an old module that's a common problem on them and put in your new custom module that's going to fix everything, right? We could have a digital twin of that product, and basically it's going to start with, hey, the first step is to open the panel, and maybe it will kind of give you some visual indication of these are the screws, and basically you would either tap on those screws and then that would signify them becoming unscrewed. That panel flies off, and then, hey, in order to get to this module, you'd have to unscrew these other things. Basically take you step by step. And that's something that could be not pre-recorded. It's an experience that you do live every time. And so it's in the can, but it's not like, I think pre-recorded is not the right word for it. It's an app, it's an experience that you're doing live every time that's been predetermined. And so let's see, what other remote training capabilities can we do here? Honestly, it could just be a product demo. That's a training avenue as well. You could have, hey, everybody, our sales team is worldwide, and this is the new product. And it's going to be really important when you're with a customer at a trade show and we have the real product there, that you talk about this and make sure that you press this button and you showcase it that way. Really, it's anything that you could use traditional training for. We could find a way to do it in the Apple Vision Pro. Zach, are you back or not? Nope, he's not. Okay. How does the Vision Pro help make 3D investments more scalable? Well, that's the thing. A lot of what we do at MarketScale is scalable in general, right? So on the lower end of things, we just create 3D images of products. We have to have your 3D product as a 3D file for us to do that, right? And then we make it beautiful and look realistic and all that. We get it in the door. We can also do 3D videos with it. We can then also do traditional augmented reality, and then we could also make things custom for the Apple Vision Pro. So why is it scalable? If you make something for the Apple Vision Pro, you can make content for social media. You can, since we have those assets, and it takes, a certain level of effort to get them ready for the Apple Vision Pro. But basically, if we have them for the Apple Vision Pro, we have them for a traditional 3D video. A lot of the work is reusable, right? So we're able to create multiple assets from the files, and it's like we can create a whole campaign, a whole catalog of media that your sales teams that can use, or for training, all kinds of things. It's really, think of it as a gateway, a doorway into a whole world of 3D. Let's see, can the capability be used for interactive 3D in a pitch environment? I mean, it really is endless. So pretty much all this stuff that you can do with the Apple Vision Pro, the whole point is for it to be interactive. The example that I showed was an existing demo that we did where it's a little bit more passive, right? You can walk around it, you can look at it, you can put your hands next to it, you can feel the size. But the goal is that we could create even more demos that are more interactive, and that they could be used for just about anything, a pitch, a training, the whole 9 yards. How does the Vision Pro support remote or hybrid learning environments, especially for technical vocational education? I think we already talked about that one some. But just being able to have a wealth of different products. Basically, if you're at a technical trade school and there's a piece of equipment there that you did a lesson on, maybe the instructor actually showed you in real life, but maybe the homework is to go home and do it on your own in the headset. Being able to have the technology in your home, the pieces of equipment in your home to practice on. How much were we limiting our technical workforces by making sure that they're having their training have to be in person or in a special lab or something like that? Being able to have this at home opens up a whole world of more people who maybe wouldn't be able to make it to a trade school in traditional hours, be able to do it in their own time. That's next level stuff. Let's see. What are your thoughts on timeline of use cases? Since it's at still a premium cost, do you see trade schools, university departments, even employers investing in these schools or solutions in their lab departments, or does the tool still need more mature time? So that's a great question. The Apple Vision Pro is expensive right now, and it was done so on purpose. Apple's not dumb. They know that if something goes out in the world, there needs to be apps for it. They have purposely positioned this thing as expensive because it's only really going to be in the hands of big companies using it to scale up factory lines, or buying one so they can showcase it at a trade show doing some kind of demo of a product, or basically they're just trying to get it out in the hands of developers. So technically it's launched. Technically, if you have the bank account that you can buy one as a personal user, you totally could. You can, and if you have a situation where it makes sense to use it as a desktop replacement, in addition to just using it as media, you totally could. I think that the premium cost is a good thing, and I think it's a very short-term thing. This is honestly the worst version of the Apple Vision Pro that we'll ever have. You got to think of like the original iPhone. Every version that came after it was an incremental improvement, right? So the next one, I'm sure, is going to be a little cheaper. It's going to be a little lighter. It's going to be a little bit more accessible to the average person, and there's going to be more apps. The last thing that Apple wants is this thing to go out in the world and people say we can't do anything with it. So that's why we're in a very special place in B2B, because we can help push the advancement of this tool out to the world, which is just amazing. And basically, I don't see any other questions in the audience. So I'm just going to move it right along and just give you a little recap. Basically, this is a first-gen technology, guys. It's only going to get better, and the App Store is at an all-time low right now with apps that can use it. Imagine being in on the exponential growth, being in on the ground floor, being able to lead in your industry with content for the Apple Vision Pro. That's where we're at now, and that's the future that you should be excited for. So the best way to learn more about the demos that we do is to follow us on LinkedIn and other social platforms. We'll be having more webinars as soon as we have more demos. We'll be getting more content out there. If you have an idea, more questions, you want to reach out to me directly, I'm happy to give you a demo here in person at the MarketScale headquarters in Dallas. In addition, I'm happy to just get on a Zoom call and just kind of brainstorm what this means for you and your company in the B2B space. So I want to thank you guys for coming, and stay tuned for more.